business, health, or your life purpose? I'm Darius Oliver, and I help people to look within and find clarity and direction in their constantly changing lives. Tune in and listen with me as I go deep into your patterns and personal cycles through divine numerology. Any life transition you're experiencing can be illuminated by an in-depth analysis of your chart. For the first time in Stockton, you now have access to a professional numerologist here to help you light your own way. I'm in the booth to help you find your own truth. Tune in to Divine Numerology every Friday at 3 p.m. on The Voice of Stockton.
Want to talk politics? Tune in every Sunday at 5 p.m. as Don Mazuski and Dustin Brakeville give you the latest news.
Alongside our political analyst, Professor Sirian Villavicencion and Tamara Sakari.
I can hear you loud and clear, Governor.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
On Politics Panoramic.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Julie Dameron, local veterinarian for over 20 years. I am so excited about my new radio show, Tales and Tips, on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, Voice of Stockton, and KXVS Radio. I will discuss relevant issues affecting animals and pet owners today, how to avoid common problems, and how to extend the quality of life for your cherished companions. As a community advocate, I will also discuss important social issues that affect our city. I plan to showcase organizations and heroes who are doing amazing things to help others. Remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 10, starting soon.
You're listening to KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, here at Stone Soup Studio at the Peace and Justice Network.
KXVS on 92.1 coming soon.
KXVS on 92.1 coming soon.
Hey, good afternoon. Richard Slezak doing the board for Spotlight on the Arts. Joy Neas is in the house. Miss Colon.
Hi, this is Joy Neas with Behind the Art Scene on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. And today I have Sofia Colon with me. We met when we were volunteering with Reinvent South Stockton, and Sofia has done a lot of work for Measure M, and so I wanted to bring you in and have you talk a little bit about why you think libraries are so important and what it means to have the Fair Oaks Library back open again.
So thank you so much, Joy, for having me here. I'm happy to be here and share some of this with you and with everyone listening. So I always love to get that question, why do you think libraries are so important? It's one of the questions that came up often in the last few years. And to me, it's almost like a rhetorical question. And almost like why would anyone even question the importance of a library? But what I found in these last few years is that we do need to make it more known. Share the awareness of what the library and libraries offer, so that people can remember the value that they really do give to the community. For me, I grew up in East Stockton. I grew up going to the Fair Oaks Library often. My mother owned a business just a block away, and so after school, when I was with her during the summer, and that's where I would go. A lot of my friends, a lot of my family, that's where we would go for different reasons, different times during the day. We would find ourselves there at the library. Growing up, having children of my own, we went to the library here and there. The kids got their books or they needed to study. And even myself, I had kind of forgotten really the importance. And when the Fair Oaks Library closed, it was almost like I had taken it for granted that the library would always be there. And it was just like not even a thought that it would ever close. Okay. So when it closed, I thought, well, surely it's not going to stay closed. Somebody's going to do something. And and it can't just stay closed. And again, still, I didn't really, there were other things going on in my own family life that I really didn't pay much attention, because again, I thought, the library can't just close. So it's closed. Well, somebody's got to do something, you know. And two things happened. First, the school that my children go to, they had scheduled a library tour at the downtown library, and that really opened my eyes to remember again all of the things that the library offers. It's not just about books. Yeah. It's about the services that they provide, all of the resources that are on the first floor and on the second floor and in the children's section and in the reference section. And, you know, it's all these things that as we toured the library, and then it clicked, this is what's missing at Fair Oaks. This is what this whole part of Stockton is missing out on by not having a library. Then the second thing happened, I was on Facebook and I saw someone post that the building was on the surplus list. And I thought, well, now they're going to sell the building? What? And it was those two things that really made me just kind of step up and out of my shell and like poke my head out of the sand and say, what is going on? You know, somebody really isn't going to do something. You know, at least that's really how I felt when those two things happened. One, I finally realized what we were missing out on the east side, and then two, the building was up for sale, and what would we do without that building, that building that's supposed to be our library.
So you live in that general area?
In the general area, yeah. Okay. I grew up close to Shirley Park. I now live closer to the fairgrounds. So okay. Still in that general area.
So you could go to the Maya Angelou Library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can, and we do.
Yeah, but I think it's so important to have libraries in all different sections of town. So we have the downtown library, the Chavez Library. We have the Truckee Library is north. We have Weston Ranch Library is in Weston Ranch. The Maya Angelou Library is by the fairgrounds. And now the Fair Oaks Library, because that's a whole nother area of Stockton that is really underserved with the east side, and it's hard for them to get other places, I think. So.
Well, you're right, because you've got kind of two main arteries that block off, or kind of, I don't want to say block off, but border that area, which is Wilson Way, and I always call it Charterway, Martin Luther King Boulevard, and you can't. If somebody were living on Main Street, you can't just easily cross over to get to the Maya Angelou Library. Yeah. You've got to go down to Wilson, down Wilson, and then get to the Maya Angelou Library. Or you go over to Golden Gate, take that route around and snake your way. But you got to do it by car or by bus. Yeah, and bus, that's a whole nother issue.
Actually, oh my God. When we were driving over to the reopening, Patty Lovato and me, and I said, oh yeah, I know how to get there, and we were so busy talking, I missed the turn. Oh. I said, I was supposed to be navigating, okay. Patty, and because we were going to turn on Market to, you can take Market, and that ends up connecting to Main Street. So we missed that. And then Main Street is a one-way going the other direction. We ended up having to go all the way around. I don't know. I still don't know how we even got there, because the problem is they have like the freeway that the crosstown freeway mm-hmm. that just kind of divides that whole area, mm-hmm. and so it's just really. It's so important to have a library in that certain section. It's kind of its own little island, and it really needs something. Mm-hmm. So I was just remembering back when I grew up, and just down the street from my house, we had a little library, and how much time I spent at that library, and the librarian, I really didn't even enjoy reading. Actually, I gotta say that.
Confession.
But the librarian, she, all the times I came in and I was looking around, and she said, oh, I think you might enjoy this book, or this book. And she led me to different things. And, those are some of my fondest memories. Just all the time and care that she took with me. Mm-hmm. And, trying to get me to appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a display case, right, when we first walked in our library. And they had, different groups put, beautiful displays of culture and art. And then also we had a meeting room in the back of the library. And the El Sobrani Art Guild, we had this art group. I'm going to drink something here.
Okay. Now, your description is actually bringing back some memories of mine when you just kind of fumble through the library when you're little.
Yeah. And our art group, we met in just all the different people that can use the library as a meeting space. Like tonight, they're going to have Mary Jo Golke. She was a librarian at the Chavez Library, and now she has just finished her second book, and she is going to be presenting her book at the Chavez Library. So you can meet authors, you can go and do arts and crafts. Mm-hmm. So my art group there, it was called the El Sobrani Art Guild, and that was actually one of my first introductions to art. So I joined this group, and we started exhibiting and everything. But all that happened at the library, mm-hmm. So if that space wouldn't even been there for my childhood, I mean, I would have had none of those memories.
Right. Or maybe that inspired you in what you do today.
Yeah.
And you have that experience of that caring librarian who reached out, and that's what made you feel safe and accepted. And you portray that when you're doing your artwork and when you're out in the public. Yeah. So those experiences are important, very important. That's why a library is important. Yeah. That's the long answer.
so it's just amazing when you're talking about you always thought it would be there, mm-hmm. and that's what happens so many times that, I was doing work with preservation. And you always think these buildings are going to be there until there you see the wrecking ball, and there's the rubble and the demolition, and it's gone. But so thankfully they kept the building, and 7 years later, it took them 7 years to reopen the Fair Oaks Library. Mm-hmm. So what did you do with Measure M, or how did that come about?
So that came about after those two, awakening calls. I started to ask questions, ask around different people, friends and family. What can we do? I had my idea of reopening the Fair Oaks Library. Who can I partner with? What's going? Is anyone doing anything? And for the first couple of years in talking with people and connecting with people in groups, I met Masood and Kahi of the Strong Library, Strong Communities group, and they're the ones that organized the Measure M measure. And thankfully, it seemed like my little piece of the puzzle, this is where I fit. And I came in around April of 2016 after, thankfully, the building itself was saved. It was taken off of the surplus list. Money was allocated towards the repairs for Fair Oaks. So those two things happened in the meantime, thankfully. So there was some foundation leading the way. There was a lot of community support to open the Fair Oaks Library. And when I connected my piece of the puzzle to Measure M, this whole picture of not just reopening Fair Oaks, but the whole picture of bettering our libraries and our recreation just came into view. So I was able to help on the steering committee. So we did our heavy, trying to think of what are even the terms to say it, but our political activity, because we had to place it on the ballot. We had to get support. for the measure, it was important, very important, to get the measure because it had to pass with 2/3 of the community's vote, of Stockton's vote. So it couldn't just be the majority vote, but it had to have that 2/3 vote. So we walked, knocked on doors, we made phone calls. What was exciting for me was when I asked my family to come help. So I got some cousins involved and some friends from work to make these phone calls. And it was their first time, getting involved in this kind of activity. So altogether, having Measure M passed just kind of proved to me that, from years before when I had these 2 awakening calls, finding, even though people said, oh, Sophia, that library is never going to happen, it's never going to open, I just had to keep finding the people who would agree and who were already starting to put the wheels in place and kind of plug myself in, and just continue the momentum. And we passed. Yay!
Yay!
So now not only is it open, but Fair Oaks can be sustained.
Right.
And then we'll see the future of more libraries and recreation facilities in Stockton.
Yeah, I remember when they were doing, I think it was the 2020, Masood, with the making a new library in downtown by the year 2020. And, I think of, Stockton, I would say, we have all the people, the abilities that we really need to make, a great place. But sometimes we need to look to other cities at what they're doing, just to, for the best ideas available. And I think one thing that I saw was in San Jose, and I was going to San Jose State University, and they had closed their downtown library, but what they ended up doing, they put a new library on the campus of the San Jose State. So it's a joint library between San Jose State and the city, and they made this state-of-the-art, this huge library with everything, and maybe we could look to some of those kind of answers, that we could partner with UOP or whatever, to make a state-of-the-art library, because it's so important to have these libraries, but what we have right now, we could use so much better in the form of like technology and just like computer literacy and all this.
Definitely. And what's exciting, just hearing you say that, is that was actually one of the examples that we used or turned back to with the measure, because that also had to be approved through the citizens of San Jose. But when you're describing like the future, incorporating technology, early on I was asked how would I recreate this library? And we rely on our memories, right? We rely on our experiences as we're here in this city and what our experiences were. But in order to know or to vision the future, you have to look outside. Well, what are other cities doing? And I know Masood did that because he would often give examples of this city has this library, this city is doing this over here and over there, and different examples. And you have to look and see what's working in other places and how can we put our pieces of the puzzle together and create something. Maybe take something from this place and that place and create something that's good for us, that'll work for our community. So just from looking at the pictures of the Fair Oaks opening, I did a little tiny little sneak peek tour the week before. So seeing the makerspace, seeing how welcoming that library is with the couches and the seating and even the bookcases are shaped in like S's and curves, and so it's kind of not rigid, it's welcoming.
Yeah, that like in the children's area especially, it's kind of an S shape. I just love that.
Yeah, and so that, in my memory, would I think of that? I don't know. Maybe, we had to look outside of ourselves to see something that could improve. And that's true with everything. I mean, that's why we often encourage our children to go to college other places. Come back. Go spread your wings and then come back and help your community.
But I will also say that, Stockton, that we have gone to so many different consultants and spent a whole lot of money, employing other people. But a lot of, Stockton people like you and me and so many of the artists here have the abilities to actually do the work and envision those spaces. And I was interested when you were talking about that you had done a presentation of creating a reading space in the home. Mm-hmm. So how do you go about doing that?
Okay, so this is something that's been on my heart for a while. Trying to think of how I can teach people to create reading spaces in your home. And one of the first myths I want to just break is that it's not hard. It's very easy. A lot of times we look to Pinterest and we start to see these, really elaborate reading spaces, and it doesn't have to be that way. It can be something as simple as a couch, a simple chair, a bookcase, lighting, and that's it. Really, that's it. And your books, of course. So I started to get this idea from my own background. I have my degree in interior design, and I know how to, work a room, although I haven't done it for some time. But it's something that's important to me, that people understand you need your bookcase, you need your books, and they need to be accessible to you and to your children. And it doesn't have to be hard. You can have a corner area in your living room, or just a simple wall space. But you need to create that atmosphere in your home also. And it needs to start as soon as possible, as soon as your children are born. If you can get them used to holding a book, even just the mechanics of holding a book and turning the pages, that's learning to read. The cover of a book, turning it, opening it to the inside, the middle, the back, the end of the book. I mean, all these things your children can learn as they're toddlers. Hearing the rhythm of your voice. When you find a comfortable spot in your home to read, all those things start to fall into place.
Yeah, I love that. One of my very favorite places in the Fair Oaks Library is the children's reading area. Right at the end of the building, they have a rug. Mm-hmm. It's the Very Hungry Caterpillar, Eric Carle. So it's a caterpillar rug, so with his art on it. And they have a few seating. It's like a little cushioned area. And it makes me want to just take a book and sit there and read something.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Before, it actually was in that corner. That back end of the library was actually exposed and had little steps. You can actually kind of like you were crawling up into a little nest area. Oh, yeah. So I'm glad they kept something of a quiet little reading space. You can grab your book and you go and you kind of cuddle in with your book.
Yeah. And then around the walls, they ended up putting some kind of wall decorations. I think they were trees, but they were like interactive. You can almost like put the fruit on the tree or whatever. But it just really made it such an inviting, colorful, mm-hmm. Friendly, happy space. Mm-hmm. Those are some of my favorite memories. We ended up talking about scholastic books in school.
Highlights.
And, so highlights but getting all the little children's books and that you had that you could order. I think it is, I don't know, every year or whatever, that you place your order of, these are the books I want. And my mom, she used to handle all the books for our class. And so we had just hundreds of books that we had to separate and, these are the orders that different kids had got and stuff. So.
Oh, so cool.
So you've heard of Scholastic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that I'll give a shout out to my husband Frank. One of his favorite things to do in life is read.
All right.
He can just read all day long, but he told me all these stories about the SRA, the reading. It's this box of cards, and you went over and you read this, and he would go over during class and read all of these things, and he got so far ahead that like he just skipped grade levels. It was just amazing that his ability with reading.
Mm-hmm.
So
pushed him forward.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised when, and I don't know, maybe you've asked him this, but there had to have been that early experience to get him excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been just simply that the environment was created. As a parent, if you're busy, and I know every parent is busy, carve out a few minutes and sit with your child for just a few minutes, and that will spur their interest in a book. You don't have to sit there and point out every word or sit there for 20 minutes or, just a few minutes. Start with just a few minutes, and you'll start to just kind of plant that little seed of encouraging reading. So maybe something happened like that for him, and then he just took off with it.
I know the one story I'll share. I'll share about him. He went to a religious school over in San Rafael, and instead of like he would be, he was supposed to be in church.
Okay.
So instead of going to church, he would go to the bookstore, and they had the books like about parables, and he would be in the bookstore reading the parables. So when the nuns and whoever found him, you're supposed to be in church, but he was doing his own study.
Oh, that's
so
they had to forgive him.
So they couldn't be too upset about that.
Oh, that's good. That's funny.
So I wanted to ask about the maker space. Is Fair Oaks Library, is that the first maker space in Stockton? Or?
Well, they started off with that at the Stribley Community Center.
Okay.
And they did have the 3D printer in there. And what's neat about the library that they opened for the Stribley Center is that's actually where all the old books went. And it was just a room of books, really. I was in there just a few times, and you could just simply take a book, bring it back. It was, not really interactive. So when the effort to open Fair Oaks, was in process, that was transformed completely as a transitioning, kind of to show, I think, to show libraries in the future. So that 3D printer was there. There was laptops, iPads in there, and I would say that really is our first insight into a maker space, Yeah. Now you're seeing like the whole, like the real.
Yeah.
That was a little taste.
So do they have that at Chavez or any of the other? No. Okay. No. So I went in the maker space. I was absolutely fascinated. I was looking at all kind of machines, but I had no idea what they were.
Oh
my goodness. But I guess they would have some instructions, or would a person be there to help you figure it out? Or
I want to say yes. Okay. I know Milo, the librarian who is at the Stribley Center, is now at Fair Oaks.
Right.
And he was helpful. Okay. And so I'm sure that continues. I don't want to speak on their behalf. I'm sure they're going to give some instruction.
Because I saw them. I was just enchanted, but they were making it looked like a little pencil can. And it was out of plastic, some kind of plastic. But it was the 3D printer. And but it was kind of interwoven. So it was a cylinder with a base, mm-hmm. and then the sides were kind of interwoven, almost like a pretzel. And so
I'm trying to imagine that.
It went all the way around mm-hmm. with the kind of these stripes of interwoven pieces. But they made it into, they were using it as a pencil can, and they made them like different colors. When we went in during the grand opening was from 3 to 6, And I think they had almost completed a little can. It was yellow, and there was another one, an example, a purple one sitting there on the table, and then I think a red one was out in the room, but they had put them around. People were using them.
Oh, cool.
So that was exciting. And then they had sewing machines.
Yes.
All these sewing machines, and I'm going, oh my God, sewing machines in a library?
Yeah, no, so they didn't have that before, but I'm excited to see that now.
You know, so that a person could go in and sew something. Wow, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's it's bringing back something else that we talked about before, where these are the makerspace. These are the things that are in makerspaces at other libraries.
Uh-huh.
So again, it's not just about books. You know, you can actually take that sewing book, get your material, make something. There you go, right here in this one space.
And on the window it said, something about knitting, and I'm going, oh, they're going to have knitting? Well, I do crochet, you know.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I could teach crochet and whatever. So I'm thinking, you know, I was trying to ask Milo about volunteering at the library, and so many of us, you know, we have skills that, you know, we could share, you know, we know how to do certain things. So we could come to that maker space or, you know, help set up different programs. I know that Patty Lovato, she wanted to do some gardening, make little garden pots. They have a back planter all the way in the parking lot, right next to the parking lot. And, you know, it has some greenery, but she thought maybe have containers that would have some, you know, flowers or fruits and vegetables or something. But, you know, so I think that's one thing I would say, that Stockton, we need to depend on our people, all the people that live here, to really, when you invest, you know, like each person wants to give something. And if, you know, Mayor Tubbs or whoever's in charge, they say, oh, you know, we'd love you to help. You know, I remember when Ann Johnston was mayor, and during her, when she was trying to get elected, she would say, I can't do this alone. You know, if I get elected, I'm going to call on each and every one of you to help. But after she got elected, she never called on me. Okay. But, you know, I think really there's so much to be done in Stockton, and people are so willing. I know you are, and I am, and you know, so if instead of you know, so often, you know, people say, oh no, you can't do that, but just find ways for people to help and to encourage people to come forward and to use their ideas, you know, so we could, you know, come up with some things that, you know, would be groundbreaking, you know, maybe that other cities want to look at. Oh, this is what they're doing in Stockton, you know.
I want to share on that point, because it's important to hear everyone's voice, and often there's you know, you're maybe even listening to this right now and you're thinking, well, I have an idea, but I don't know, I'm not experienced, or I don't know, I've never done this before. That was me, actually. When I had the idea to reopen the library, I'd never thought of that before. I mean, I had never really approached anyone outside of my little, you know, circle of friends and family to ask, you know, how can this be done? What can we do? What can I do? Here's my passion, here's my enthusiasm, and my willingness to learn. Plug me in. And sometimes that's really like the most important thing, is that you're passionate about something and you're willing to learn. So if you're not sure, you're intimidated a little bit because you don't have the experience or the education, try not to let that disturb you. There's groups out there that want to hear from you, that will help you with that experience, that want to hear your idea. It's kind of, I can't think of the company, but it's a commercial. It's a commercial where it starts off, this weird looking creature is kind of gray and old and dusty, and he goes, I can't think. It's a technology commercial. I can't think of the company. But it's this like dusty little creature, and it goes to place, and people are like, "Oh, get away from me!" But then when it finds people, or people find it, clean it up, shine it bright, and it's this awesome, beautiful creature at the end, and that's kind of like an idea. Yeah. Sometimes you're not sure. You just got this little, this little idea. But then you find people that you can connect with that kind of put your idea together, and you fit in with the groups that work, continue the momentum of this idea, and it turns into something beautiful at the end. So we do have the resources here in Stockton. We have people, we have bright scholars here even. We've got the University of the Pacific, we've got Delta College. People are learning, and we want to use that here for Stockton. So if you're in the process of thinking of something, of an idea, plug yourself into one of the any organizations that are out there, and you'll find like-minded people.
Yeah, there's so many different groups. So is Masood, is he still doing? Are they trying to get the library by 2020, or like a state of the arts library? Or?
I should leave that to him to talk more about. We should invite him over.
Oh,
I know
should have had him over.
It's certainly something that we see. Additional libraries for a needed area, needed areas. Upgraded facilities for our sports, for recreation. So all that's on the table.
Yeah, now one thing, and this is absolutely, Stockton needs improvement in this area, is preservation and just historical research. I know when I was trying to do research, it was grueling to find the materials. And, one of the best places is at the Holt Atherton collection and all. But the next to the Holt Atherton at UOP and the Bank of Stockton for their photos, the best place is the Chavez Library. And this is like old school, let me tell you. But there was a librarian, I don't know what year this was. She took it upon herself to go through, like, just all the different references, all the newspaper articles, all the books, all the different things available, and put together this extensive card catalog file that you could just look through and flip to different things. But it was her project that she had spent all these, must have spent thousands of hours. So if you go and you're trying to find a certain subject, you can access that. And the other part is like microfilm and microfiche. They have all of the newspapers, like from the 1800s. On the microfilm, and you can sit there, and just the way they used to write about like downtown, the buildings, and they were going to tear down these 8 hotels to put 130 parking spaces. So I was researching about these buildings, but I found, like, when they first were constructed, Susan B. Anthony came and talked, and this and that. And these things aren't even landmarks. They're old enough to be landmarks. But just the incredible amount of information you can find in those, in the microfilm and in those reference areas. I know that San Jose has the library has its own, like, special history room.
I think Sacramento has one too, I think.
So that's the kind of thing I look forward to in Stockton. That, there's so much history here. And, you can go on Facebook and you can the Stockton History Facebook group. And everybody can talk about the history. Well, let's record all that. Let's put all that down. Let's put it in a book. Let's something. Yes. You have this streaming discussion with photos, and I knew this. Let's collect all that and the stories, and it's beyond imagine. there's so much, knowledge, but this person knows it, but that person, we need to connect it all together and make it available to people.
Before it disappears?
Before it disappears.
And a good example I'll share with you on that, with El Barrio del Chivo, which is another group that is a part of, that I'm a part of, it's part of my family. Going through, we're trying to establish an oral history project. Sounds exciting. The trouble is finding people who want to share their story. And just my own personal opinion, in reaching out to certain people and not getting the follow-up, kind of getting a little bit of hesitation. One is because they're a lot older. Health is kind of an issue also too. And the other, I think, is because in their time of growing up, they weren't encouraged to share their story. And here we are now, decades later, someone like myself trying to relay this very unique history. It's a very unique part of Stockton's history. Trying to relay that to my children, it's getting a little foggy because these aren't my memories. These are my mother's memories. Mm-hmm. It's my that older generation, my grandmother's generation, their memories. So it's as it's getting passed down, it's getting a little foggy, and so we're trying to establish one or two stories to get started, to record. That way, hopefully it encourages other people to listen and other people will want to also share their story. Mm-hmm. But just like you're saying, this person has a little memory here and this person has a little memory here. It needs to be documented so that later generations can reference back to it. Right. Hearing it in someone's real voice is very impactful. If we can get it on paper, mm-hmm. That's impactful also. But I like hearing stories,
And then also like so many people are getting older, mm-hmm. are passing away, and all of their family documents. You got all the photographs, mm-hmm. Just all these things, and a lot of times, somebody's clearing out the house, and it goes in the trash. No.
Or you look at a picture. Who's in this picture? I don't know. She was the only one that knew who was these three people. We don't know.
So we need to know all those things. Mm-hmm. Like my mom, she just turned 90, and she came to live in Stockton. But she's showing me this picture, and I don't remember ever seeing a picture of my great-grandmother. There's a picture of my great-grandmother and great-grandfather and all their children, and they have all the names on it.
Awesome.
So she's trying to, share that with me. So, these are the things we need to know to like make connections, like, this did, and so can you tell me where the Barrio de Chivo?
Yes.
Yeah. What was the boundary?
Okay, so the boundary is more or less kind of like a triangle. If you're looking at Main Street to 99, where the 99 freeway is now. So that's from Main Street. Filbert, from Filbert to 99, up around to Harding. And it's loosely. I mean, these aren't like hard fast border lines, but that's more or less like the core. But it spreads out. Mm-hmm. I think everyone around on the east side would say that they're from Barrio del Chivo or their family's from Barrio del Chivo. Because that's the closeness and the connection that everybody has with each other. This was a time between the 1930s to the 60s where you had people coming in from to work in the fields. So you had a lot of migrant families, but then you also had families that were residents there that lived there. This was a time in the U.S. where we really, as Latinos, we couldn't purchase land except here in this particular area. So you have, if you were to look at some of the pictures, no roads, no sidewalks, houses were raised up, so there was no like foundation, cement foundation, anything like that at the time. But these families relied on each other, and that's where the richness was. So I have family that's from this area where they had close relationships with friends. And you think that they're family too, because they've just been in our family for so long. They're just friends of the family for so long. Now everybody's a cousin. So, and that's my experience, but that's the experience of everyone who kind of grew up in that area. They went to Fair Oaks Elementary School before it closed. They went to
where was that?
Fair Oaks was on Main Street, and I'm trying to think near where the railroad tracks are. I'm trying to think of that's B Street. Okay. I believe. Okay. Kind of B Street. Yeah. Okay. I was trying to remember. So that was where Fair Oaks was, and then when that tore down, I think that's shortly thereafter is when King School. I'm trying to remember now. I'm looking at you because.
And that's up there by 99. Roosevelt and MLK just a couple blocks away.
Right. There was Fremont Junior High. It's Fremont Elementary now, but they went to Fair Oaks, Fremont Junior High, and then Franklin. So I mean, that's kind of like the whole area.
So do you remember the Capri Theater? I mean, so
I never had a chance to go in there,
really?
But I mean, it's right there on Main Street.
Right. Yeah. I wish that could come back. It's just sitting there. I mean.
Right. And why couldn't it? I mean, I know there's money's always an issue. Mm-hmm. But there's people, even in the process of trying to gain support for Fair Oaks, Capri came up almost every time. Well, what about this? What about this over here? I don't know. But yeah, we want art.
Turn it into something similar to what's over here at the Empire.
Right. Where it could house art, shows every so often, cafe inside. Yeah.
So it'd be a real meeting place, a gathering space. Mm-hmm. I know that the Mexican Heritage Center, Gracie Madrid, she, I think probably about a year ago, they wanted to do a display, an exhibit all about the Barrio de Chiva. Mm-hmm. Are you going to be working with her on that, or?
I was actually talking with, her last name is Castros. No. Yes. Celia Castro. Yeah. In fact, she was one of the in working with the committee, the Barrio Chivo committee. I found her, I think, on Facebook, even in that history page, and we connected and we talked about it. If ever it comes around, I think it was on hold for some reason, so it didn't happen. It was that was a couple years back. Yeah. But yeah, if ever it comes up,
we need to get that actually going. Like last year they had the 75th anniversary, the Day of Remembrance for all the internment camps, the Japanese internment camps, and as all these people are getting older, they're not going to be with us much longer. So we need to document all those memories. That's what like Little Manila Foundation they're doing, FONS, the Filipino American National Historical Society. That's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I think the Chinese Benevolent Association, so many different cultural groups are documenting those histories. Mm-hmm. And it'd be lovely to have all that available right at the library, that you could go and hear the stories and share the stories. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, they had Stockton Speaks, and it was it was a whole. I don't know who put it together, but it was really interesting that they paired like an elder person with a youth and with a teen, and the teen would like interview that elder, but it would be like, say, an African elder with a Chinese youth. They would do it cross-culturally. So you would learn about, different generations and different cultures while you were doing it. And they recorded all of those stories, and they made a little CD out of it. But, we just need to keep
that going.
To extend that, It kind of ended, and I just think there's so much more that we could do with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's finding the volunteers to continue. Just like we were saying earlier about people in the to kind of step up and out of your bubble and come help. It's because some of those programs are really great programs, but the people running them after a year, after 2 years, you got to do something else,
Sure.
Life pulls you in different directions, and you need other people to come in and kind of carry that torch, keep certain programs going.
Yeah, it is.
It reminds me of StoryCorps, NPR StoryCorps. I don't know if anyone listens to NPR. StoryCorps comes on the weekends, I believe, or you can listen to it online. But I love it, and it's that kind of interaction where it's just two people, with the mic and a simple question sometimes, and that question will take you into their life experience. So some are very moving, some are funny. It just kind of depends, but it reminds me of that StoryCorps.
Yeah, I mean, we could do something like that here, StoryCorps, wasn't that for, is there a certain age limit on that? Or?
No, they have a range of different topics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you search on their website, I think it's a podcast.
Okay, I need to look more into that.
Yeah, but it's just topics, any age.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, while I have you here, I wanted to talk to you about what your daughter Davina is doing.
Okay.
I just thought this is the most exciting thing. She, got interested in art therapy, and I haven't known anybody that's really done that. So how did she get involved in that?
So years ago, while she was still in high school, I think she was a freshman or a sophomore.
It is 1 p.m. You are webtuned to thevoicesstockton.org.
Thank you. So we attended a workshop at UOP, the financial aid workshop they hold every year, and I got a book called Flight of the Quetzal Mama by Roxanne Ocampo. And in that book, it gives parents a step-by-step how to prepare your children for higher education. And so after reading that book, talking with my daughter about what she likes, what she's interested in, where she wanted to go to school, what she wanted to study. I mean, we had these conversations and segments, and I got a rough idea of what she was interested in. Kind of together, we both looked into art professions. And it was more of me kind of just guiding her, well, what about this? What about that? And I wanted to make sure that she saw the whole picture of how far art could go. And so I made sure, check this out, check that out. And, I would do some Googling searches, and she would do some Googling searches at school. They make sure that you go through some of that. And together we kind of found art therapy. So there's art, which she loves, and helping people. And it's an occupation. It falls under occupational health. And so it's something that she's going to pursue. In college, she's attending Seton Hill University in Pennsylvania. They have a degree. They have a BA and a master's in art therapy. It's one of the only colleges that have the actual major. A lot of the other colleges, you take this and you take that and they piece it together for you. But this particular college has it as a whole course. And she's excited. She's really excited about, continuing her art and helping people at the same time.
So how long has she been there?
This is her first year. She just finished her first year.
First year. All
yeah.
Right. So.
She survived. We survived as parents. So yeah.
And she got a big award, didn't she? A scholarship.
Yes. So another piece of learning from the book that Flight of the Quetzal Mama is that you apply for scholarships. How to find them and how to apply for them. And because of her interest in its medicine, it falls into the category of medicine, she was able to apply for the Kaiser Permanente Scholarship, which is actually open right now for students who are interested in the medical field. She applied, and she got the scholarship, which was a $4,000 scholarship. So that was pretty major. Wow. That was a major help. And she wouldn't be able to really attend. Financial aid has to step in. Scholarships have to step in. So, and it's important to start these things early. Get your list of scholarships early, and then get your essays early, and then that way you have time to apply.
That is so amazing. And She also was involved with Ballet Folklorica.
Yes, with Frank Zapata, Ballet Folklorico de Frank Zapata. And he's actually another wonderful person in the community who's been around for a long time. Yes. I even practiced with him. He was my instructor as well. So I felt really comfortable, once these kind of extracurricular activities, you want to introduce to your kids. Sometimes they don't take to it right away. Sometimes they're like, I don't think so, Mom.
Sure.
And then you just kind of reintroduce every little while. And she was interested, and she took the class. And then after a couple, she was like, yeah, I love this. This is great. And she performed. She really had fun with it, learning more about our Mexican heritage culture through dance, through the music. That gave her a different perspective.
So she got involved because you had been a student?
Yeah, I think so. I try to kind of push her that way.
Yeah.
But like I said, sometimes I'm trying to get my boys to do it. Please don't say anything. And so a lot of times boys are like, nah, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't. You get to dance with the beautiful girl. Come on. I'm like, come on, guys. Yeah.
How old are they?
Well, my oldest is now 14 and my youngest is 11. So we're at an age where they might keep telling me no. I was trying the last few years, come on, don't you want to just try it? Just try.
Keep nagging.
Keep nagging, huh? I know. Just keep slipping that in there every so often. But yeah, she's doing really good. Just like with everyone, I'm sure there's a lot of students coming home now for their summer break, and it's kind of a relief. You made it through that first year, and then you kind of have to get that gear going for the next.
So I look forward to. I'm looking at the Art Splash. We just had our first Art Splash. It's the Downtown Art Walk. So it takes place the second Friday of May through October, and Davina, she had shown some of her art. In a couple of the Art Splashes. I'm hoping we can get her back.
I really want to speak to that. If there's parents with art students, definitely to send them your way, because that was a great experience for her. As an artist, you talk with people in the community, but also with other artists, and you develop that artist language, and you start to describe things in a different way. You're learning how, as an art student, you're learning a certain language in art, and to be able to practice that with other artists is it's a good experience, and that being a part of the art walk helped her. It really did. So other parents with students who are artists interested in art, definitely participate in these kind of shows. They might be nervous at first, but after a while, you start to get used. You relax when you're in your artist environment. It becomes a natural feeling for you. You feel at home.
Because it's one thing to just, usually making art is kind of a solitary thing. But when you have, and then you accumulate all this art and you go, now what am I going to do with it? Well, you need to show it to somebody, to share it, to that's the joy of seeing how other people relate to it, and being able to, you made something and someone would go up and, they'd have a question. They say, oh, I love the color, and you can talk about it and just engage with people, and so I think that's the beauty of the Art Splash, that it gives people a place to do that, and it's for all ages, all different mediums, and like one year we had a 5-year-old artist come in, so. She had won a contest from the Downtown Stockton Alliance. They had done this Brew Beck Inspires My Imagination.
Oh, right.
And she made a little drawing, and they had put it up on the Hotel Maine. And I said, I'd love to have her. And so she had a whole display. There was a beauty salon right across from the transit center, but she was just beaming, just glowing. Oh, look at my art.
Wait a minute. Did it have a little penny?
Yeah.
I remember that one. Penny.
Penny Adami.
Yeah. Oh, how fun. Yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing that. And that, it's funny, even that little, that's her little signature. I think that's what it was. Yeah. That's why it was there. How cute. But yeah, I remember that. And those experiences that whether they choose as they grow up to be an artist, now they have the confidence. That's a confidence booster and builder right there. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, so much of those are the types of things also that you get at the library. Like, so you were saying you read a book and it helped you, to encourage your children. Mm-hmm. And, I wish my parents would have done that because I had no idea. I never got any scholarships or anything.
All we know are our experiences. So if I were to use my experience for my kids, then they would only, at least the thought, right? They'd only get as far as I've gotten. But in order to push them further, I need to learn from other people, and I need to do that. Books, online sites, blogs. Always keep yourself learning.
Mm-hmm. So I think that bringing it back to the library, it's just kind of a lifelong learning, they call it, and so you're never too old to learn something,
right?
Even now, like my mom, she had to move out of her house, after over 50 years, and now she's in a place here, but she's being surrounded by people her own age. Before she was alone, but now, she's able to talk to other people, and she was showing, she loves to do tatting. It's a lace art, and she was showing some of the people there how to do it. So just that interaction, and, for Easter, she, decorated some Easter eggs, and, just to get out and be doing something, and that can really keep you, like they say, age is a state of mind, that, you can have a full life for as long as,
And we need those community centers, and that's where libraries come in.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's about going to wrap it up, and I really appreciate, Sophia, that you came and talked about your experiences.
Thank you for having me.
You're one of the most inspiring mothers I've ever met.
Thank you.
Just amazing.
Thank you. I know it's something I want to share so other people can learn also.
Right. Mm-hmm. So this is Behind the Art Scene at KXVS, the voice of Stockton, and I'll see you next week. Okay.
All right. Well, once we got going, it's not too hard, huh? The nerves kind of went away. Ooh, and I got to get going. But thank you. That was fun.
So if we could get a picture with you.
Yeah.
KXVS on 92.1. Coming soon.
Here at KXVS, broadcasting from Stone Soup Studios, is the voice of Stockton.
Katie Casey was baseball mad, had the fever and had it bad, just to root for the hometown crew. Every cent Katie spent on a Saturday, her young beau called to see if she'd like to go to see a show, but Miss Kate said no. I'll tell you what you can do. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back. Well, it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the and the score was just 2-2. Katie Casey knew what to do just to cheer up the